Hi, that was I Don't Know by legendary musician Paul McCartney, who turns 78 today. Also, today, country star Blake Sheldon turns 44. And all-time low guitarist Jack Barakat turns Barakat. I'm sorry for those fans that I butchered the name. I apologize. Let me redeem myself. All-time low guitarist Jack Barakat turns 32. Happy birthday, everyone! It's also a very cozy, cloudy day if you haven't looked in your window and if you haven't been outside, which is myself included. Today is Thursday, June 18th, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kaya Masiak, and I'm also here with my lovely co-host, Crystal Santos, and news contributor, Sabrina Heisuk. And we are the Powerpuff Girl duos. I'm Blossom.
I am Buttercup.
I was confident. I am Bubbles.
And thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. It's always good to be here.
I didn't mean to say duo, I meant to say triple. We're the Musketeers.
I was going to say that hurt my feeling, Kaya. Like,
I'm sorry. What was it?
Off the liver.
Trio. Why did that come?
Trio.
Why did that just like space out of my head? So, how's everyone doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a good day. It's a good day.
That's nice.
The weather's starting to be really nice recently, and school's over, and it's looking good. Some nice beach days are coming up. I'm enjoying life right now.
How about you, Crystal?
I just started my day with like everyone else, so ask me in 3 hours. I'll let you know. But I'm going to speak into the air. That's going to be a great day.
Well, my morning was quite interesting because I was doing my makeup and concealer squirted into my eye. And then I proceeded to cry after I was trying to curl my eyelashes. You know, sometimes you get a rough start, but with a good cup of coffee and some great gals, it's going to be fun. So this might be the best part of my day, so I'm so excited. So today, Montclair State plans for fall 2020. The race for a coronavirus vaccine intensifies, and a popular store is raising minimum wages to retain their employees. We've also got a wide range of national holidays, including National Go Fishing Day, International Sushi Day, maybe those things go hand in hand, National Splurge Day, National Career Nurse Assistance Day, and National Dump the Pump Day. Dump the pump, that doesn't sound PG. However, the meaning is completely innocent, as we've had weird holidays said here before. So the American Public Transportation Association wanted to name a holiday to promote more use of public transportation, hence dump your car's pump and ride the bus, which is so awesome. We love environmental sustainability. Cute. Also, some historical moments that happened today. In 1979, SALT, aka Strategic Arms Limitation Talks Treaty, was signed by US President Jimmy Carter and Soviet leader Leonid. And in 1983, the first American woman flew to space. Her name was Sally Ride. And also 4 other astronauts joined her on the Space Shuttle Challenger. Oh, I've heard that before. That's cool. And that's it. So we've got, those are some of your historical moments for today. It's always good to go back to history. It might have not been your favorite subject in school, but hey, listen, as you get older, no, I've got nothing. Okay.
Well, there's some quite interesting national days and historical moments. I like the National Career Nurse Assistance Day. Mm-hmm. Shout out to our, frontliners. But with that being said, Sabrina, what's our latest newscast?
All right, guys. So for our newscast today, Governor Phil Murphy released a state guideline for colleges and universities reopening in the fall. There will be several restrictions placed specifically on 10 key areas of campus life. Governor Phil Murphy stated, start quote, "Their health and the health of everyone on campus is critical to the overall public health of our state and creating the economic health we need for the long term," end quote. Here at MSU, next term will officially begin on August 25th and end on December 14th. This is 2 weeks prior to the initial date that the school was supposed to open on, as well as no on-campus teaching will be offered after Thanksgiving. This means that every class will be moved to remote learning after the short holiday break. For US news, the New York Times is reporting that the Trump administration has stopped treating the COVID-19 pandemic as a crisis. The president stated last night that the coronavirus is, start quote, fading away, end quote. As the United States surpasses 2.21 million cases and 119,000 deaths. The Trump administration is now only meeting 2 times a week, with the exceptions of doctors Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx, who speak to Trump less frequently. The New York Times reports that, start quote, with federal leadership receding and cases climbing in many places, state officials have been left to figure out how to handle the situation on their own, end quote. Meanwhile, after the Department of Justice announced they are seeking an emergency order to block the release of former National Security Advisor John Bolton, the move is drawing criticism from House Democrats. Representative Adam Schiff criticized Attorney General Bill Barr's efforts to use threats from the Department of Justice to protect Donald Trump from embarrassment, stating that Bolton's testimony would have aided in the impeachment of Trump. And for weather, in Randolph, New Jersey, it is currently 68 degrees outside with a high of 73 and a low of 60 with a 10% chance of rain. Today we have 90% of humidity, oh no, and a sunset at 8:32 p.m. This concludes your news update for June 18th, 2020. And how's the weather looking over there, guys? Because it's looking okay-ish over here.
Well, it seems like it's kind of warm, summery, it's cloudy. I don't have my phone by me, so I can't tell you the exact temperature, but I feel like it's in around 70s by the feel of my finger.
The feel of your finger, yeah.
What I can agree on is that it's cloudy outside and it definitely looks like it's going to rain. So I'm not sure if I'm bummed out. I love the rain. I love hearing the rain, if that makes any sense.
No, of course, it's very relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make you feel bad staying in bed and just watching Netflix, right? It just kind of soothes you. If it's a sunny day, you want to go outside and you're like, no, but I'm exhausted.
See, like, I love going outside. So when it rains, it kind of puts me in like a sad mood because I'm like, oh, like I can't go outside. Like if I want to exercise, I have to walk up and down my stairs like 20 times or like go on the treadmill, which is like, you know.
I think the bird screaming outside of my window, whether you guys hear it or not, is completely agreeing with you.
I bet they are.
I expect to see gains by the time we return on campus on August 25th, which, by the way, is kind of disappointing. We're going to be returning 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, so Montclair State fall semester 2020 is starting to shape up. Governor Murphy provided a roadmap for higher education, and here's what we know so far. Classes at Montclair State start August 25th, 2 weeks earlier. Gasp. Under the governor's guidelines, students will go home for Thanksgiving, and the last 2 weeks will be held remotely ending December 14th. This is significantly earlier than we had in our agendas. We can expect to have a mix of online and face-to-face classes, meaning classes that are strictly lectures to remain online, and those classes that need hand-on experience in our schools, such as production classes and science labs. We would need to find a way to split the class to allow social distancing. So this is what we know so far, but there's definitely a lot of sectors and questions that we have, including housing. How are students in triples and quadruples going to remain safe and divided? Are they going to put in dividers? Dining services, are the dining services going to be open to the public, or are we going to just have like a little drive-through lane where everyone holds their to-go bin and they just plop your food outside of the window? We don't know yet. That would kind of suck for wintertime. And also organizations. How are organizations going to hold events like bake sales and get-togethers and such? Are they going to even be able to schedule rooms around campus? Even at our own station, considering that it's a very small space, our fire code is a max 4 people and has limited access. So we would have no more than 1 person in the studio at all times. And our general meetings would be most likely held on Zoom, as well as we were thinking about having student management team directors hold their office hours on Zoom as well, instead of actually meeting in person. And I don't know. I feel like we're all Montclair State students here, so we all have opinions about this.
I have a very strong one, and I have to say that I'm quite disappointed because first of all, it's going to be my last year, so I want to like live it up like my last year, and I don't mean like live it up and like party and stuff like that. No, I mean like, get the most out of, I guess, my education, my time at Montclair, like, be at the station and go to the meetings and just be involved and, partake in activities. And especially since, well, I'm not sure I know Sabrina is a communications and media major, I think, and Kaya, I'm not sure which one you are, but also specifically for me, I'm a journalism major, so it's quite disappointing that I'm not gonna be able to mingle with my classmates and like talk to them about like projects and stuff like that, and then it's gonna be just overall limited access. So I'm quite disappointed. I'm quite sad. Hopefully it changes, but
this makes me so sad for you, Crystal. Like, for me, I'm only going into my sophomore year, so I'm like, I still have a solid 2 more years after my sophomore year. Personally, though, like, I'm very excited that at least we are able to somewhat go back, even if it is still going to be ending early. It's going to be cut short, and we're going to have to do online classes. But you said I was a communications major. I'm actually a film major. So for me, this is like, I really need to go back to school in order to fully learn like filmmaking and being on sets, and I can't really do that online. So I'm personally very thankful that we are able to go back, but I completely see your perspective. It would stink to be a senior, but at least maybe in the spring things could be different, hopefully. But
I feel like a lot of us had conversations with our friends, especially our senior friends. And I was talking to a couple of my senior friends, and they were like, it really stunk that we basically graduated, but not in person. We didn't get to spend those last days on campus, because that last semester is where you make your legacy. It's where you do everything. You push yourself to the fullest to make sure that you kind of leave your mark. And honestly, I was even having a debate with my dad about this. Like, not what is more important, but what is like more, I guess, widely recognized and celebrated, high school graduation or college? And in my sense, I think college by far, because it's your decision, it's your choice, it's freedom. And Crystal's like, if I don't graduate in person, I'm going to hit my pillow.
Do not get me started on that topic.
But in terms of like, I don't know, I was thinking it as, I was kind of being skeptical in the beginning. I was like, I don't really know if we're going to go back, considering that CDC is preparing for a second wave. So I don't know if colleges or higher education is going to even open up their campuses. But in a lot of the states, the cases have been going down. So it makes sense that they want to come back into operation and start making some moolah. And also students want to be back on campus as well. But as a commuter myself, not a commuter, as not a commuter myself, I've always been a dorming student and I'm proud of it. I don't have a car and I don't have a license. My permit expired during quarantine, so that's going to be fun. And I am not going to have a way to actually get to campus, whether it's hybrid or not. So I would actually be living on campus. I'm lucky because I have a single room, so I don't have to worry about dividers and just staying safe. I kind of have my own space, and I'm very generally blessed for that. But it kind of makes me think about the other students also that don't have single rooms. And are they going to be putting students into single rooms, right? The single rooms that don't get filled up, are they going to kind of do a lottery and such? Which I think is hardly like possible, because I promise you single rooms fill up as fast as a line to an ice cream shop.
Mm-hmm. Those made
no sense.
Those are for people who have money only. Kaya got money, but anyway.
There are also people who live far away too that need to live on campus, mm-hmm. in order to, like, some people doesn't like make sense to not commute. And like for me, I dormed last year, but this year I'm technically supposed to dorm. But now I don't know what I'm going to do, because I would be living in a suite, sharing a bathroom with 6 or 5 other girls. And not only because of how it's unsafe, also because like I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this phase 2. I don't want to risk like necessarily losing more money again for the second time in a row. So I'm considering commuting next year just for saving money, and also just you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the same thing for me. I dormed my all 3 years, but then this last one I'm definitely gonna commute. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna start practicing my driving, getting my permit. But there's many, like you said, the dorming is going to be an issue. There's so many, like the dining services, dorming, there's so many things to look into. But whatever this may look like, it's clear there is a move to reduce the density on campus just about in time when respiratory issues pick up. So we'll have to wait and see. But on some breaking news, the Supreme Court just ruled Trump cannot end DACA in a big win for Dreamer legal immigrants. According to NBC News, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled today that Trump administration cannot carry out its plan to shut down the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, which has allowed nearly 800,000 young people known as Dreamers to avoid deportation and remain in the U.S. The decision is a big legal defeat for President Donald Trump on the issue of immigration, which has been a major focus of his domestic agenda. The ruling said that the government failed to give an adequate justification for the ending of the federal program. As you know, DACA is the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, is a United States immigration policy that allows some individuals with unlawful presence in the United States after being brought to the country as children to receive a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation and become eligible for a work permit. A lot of these kids were brought as minors and didn't have a choice. This program allows them to not only work, but also be able to attend school, go to college, attend any like learning program, just do stuff here with proper documentation and quote unquote legally, and just overall to have a status. So breaking news, everyone.
Yeah, in my opinion, this is a victory, right? Trump does not get to shut down a program that is allowing thousands of children just to stay in the United States and get the same experiences that we all do as born citizens. Whether you're a foreigner or a born citizen, you still deserve to have a life in the United States, in my opinion. Not of the stations, but yeah. Woo, awesome. So thank you, Sabrina, for updating us with the most current and important news stories, and Crystal for giving us the breaking news update. Progressive prosecutors push for police reform following the death of George Floyd by charging select police officers tied to murder, assault, and other violent crimes. Given in the past, it's been rare to charge police for the civilians' deaths, and with that, winning a conviction. In the most recent years, deaths of Black men by police sparked protests, but those officers were rarely charged under suspected criminal acts during the time of the protests. Change is near as prosecutors are working harder than ever to charge officers for their criminality. Quote, prosecutors realize that they're being watched, end quote, said Mark Dupree, Sr., District Attorney for Kansas County, which also includes Kansas City. Quote, my hope is that this is a change and that we are turning a tide, end quote. Just yesterday, Fulton County prosecutors charged Atlanta officer Garrett Full for murdering Rashard Brooks during a sobriety check. Other officers present at the scene face lower charges. The shooting took place 1 week ago. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was charged with murder in the matter of days after Floyd's death, and charges against the 3 other officers assisting Chauvin were shortly followed. The chain of charges against corrupt police officers administered by prosecutors is growing, as a New York City police officer seen shoving a woman to the ground is now facing criminal charges. 2 officers in Buffalo were charged with assaulting a 75-year-old protester. And in Philadelphia, a police officer was charged for striking a metal baton across a protester's head. However, the mere reality is that charging an officer is an overly lengthy process, as shown in the past. Kim Fox, the first Black woman holding the top prosecutor's job in Chicago, says, quote, this is the time to be aggressive, end quote. She was referring to a staggering amount of police contracts enabling corrupt officers to stay on the job. Her office is currently examining whether officers attending the protests with no uniform have been committing committing violent acts. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, Dupree is executing plans to create an independent unit dedicated to investigation allegations of police brutality, along with a hotline for residents to call for officer complaints. San Francisco District Attorney is announcing a new policy this month allowing prosecutors to view all available evidence like body camera footage before filing charges against those accused of assaulting officers. While small change is present, prosecutors like Fox promise to dismantle laws and practices shielding corrupt police officers from judicial sentences. And another timely battle involves equally distributing vaccines when ready and available across all nations, especially developing countries. Crystal?
May the, oh, my voice cracked. May the best men win, or should I say country? According to AP News, as the race intensifies for a vaccine against the new coronavirus, rich countries are rushing to place advance orders to guarantee their citizens get immunized first, leaving the developing countries in question whether they will be able to get vaccines at all. Health experts say that allocation of vaccines could be inequitable and extremely messy. The United Nations, along with the International Red Cross and Red Crescent, said it was a moral imperative that everyone have access to people vaccines. It's important to note, though, that worldwide, about a dozen potential COVID-19 vaccines are in early stages of testing. While some could move into late stage testing later this year, if all goes well, it's unlikely any would be licensed before early next year at the earliest. Still, numerous rich countries have already ordered some of these experimental shots and expect delivery even before they are granted marketing approval. Britain and the US have spent millions of dollars on various vaccine candidates, including one being developed by Oxford University and manufactured by AstraZeneca. In return, both countries are expected to get priority treatment. This makes me think that if we do get the vaccines, though, here in the US, will, the wealthy get first pick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm no
That's a
wealthy
very fair
person.
point.
So, I don't know. It makes me question.
And I feel like a counterpoint to that is that a lot of developed countries like the United States, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and Portugal have had a higher surge in cases. And they can make the point that since we have a higher number of cases, we deserve the vaccine first.
Right.
That is something definitely to consider. Or, why is this becoming a battle? Why aren't we thinking about how countries should be working together in solidarity to find a cure? We're not going to, by fighting each other, we're not going to save humanity, right? And our health, right? All countries need to be working together. There needs, not that I'm saying that like, maybe there could be priority in terms of countries that desperately need it most, but no country should be withheld from medical supplies or just vaccines. Everyone has the right to have medical care, whether it's through vaccines or through treatments and such. So,
right. But it's, the important part here and what kind of makes me feel like, okay, we are not totally going to be fighting over vaccines is that once the vaccines come into the market, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and other advisory groups will issue guidelines on who should get the first dibs. The top tier will include healthcare and other workers whose jobs are considered essential in the pandemic, which makes sense. People most likely to die if stricken may also get priority, which also makes sense because, I feel like that definitely makes sense. Like whoever is at most risk should get it first. Like it just makes sense regardless of what your economical status or whatever you call it.
But that point is only 100%. Directed towards the US. It's not directed towards worldwide. Yeah. They're basically talking about, hey, so in the US, we're going to give the vaccines to those that need it the most and are higher at risk, whether they have respiratory problems or if they have other complications that could put them at higher risk. But I don't know if there's any guidelines that are talking about distribution amongst other nations as well. So, and as you can see in this map here, as we were talking about our counterpoint, countries like the United States, we see like Spain, Portugal, Germany as the lighter green countries. They're developed countries and they're getting higher cases, which I think is quite interesting to really look at. Are those the places that people are most traveling to, right? In terms of tourism or business and such, maybe that could be a contributing factor. That could be a possibility. And I mean, as you can see, just a good, like maybe 1/4 countries are just a lighter green, but you can really see that the bigger countries, the bigger nations are the ones that are suffering the most, whether they have a higher population or, so it's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm seeing here that,
and for those listening, just to give you guys like a visual, go to our Facebook to see the map. So if you guys are you guys are auditory listeners, come on down to Facebook Live and check out this map. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, I'm seeing that the United States is more of the really dark one with 300,000 plus cases.
It seems like the North America, Europe, and Asia is really definitely so far got hit the hardest. Because when you look at Australia and Africa, they're not doing nearly as terrible as we are.
And Brazil is second as well. So really in like the Americas and Europe and Asia, right, are kind of the most stricken places. Yeah, good thing there's no cases in Antarctica. The penguins are safe.
This girl.
No, but it's definitely just it's even though there are guidelines, even though we may not have guidelines, and even though I'm sure health organizations are trying to find out how to equally distribute the vaccine, probably through the United Nations and such, we haven't seen any guidelines set yet, and health experts have a right to think that this is going to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, Kaya, there is some guidelines, right? There's just guidelines, though. But the ultimate decision on who gets vaccinated will be made by state and local health departments and community hospitals interpreting the federal guidelines. The decisions will be fraught as different groups jockey for their place in line. There of course will be disagreement. Just one example, in Texas during the 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic, for example, some healthcare providers weren't sure if they should interpret vaccination guidelines from the CDC as giving priority to police officers and firefighters. Others in the state argued that school nurses and teachers should be in the top tier. Some senior citizens were perplexed that they weren't considered a priority. Aw.
Oof.
They said, you don't matter. No, I'm kidding.
That makes sense. Those are some good points. Like even teachers, well, it depends on, like what are, like if they're going back to school or not, but teachers, yeah, when you think about that.
Yeah, and to meet the challenge head on, the CDC must develop a plan with input from the states to ensure that the vaccine is available wherever it is most needed, and that disadvantaged communities in this country get their fair share. The plan must communicate clearly why certain groups will receive priority for early vaccination. It should also include a means to evaluate and rapidly redress grievances in the allocation process. In terms of whether police officers or firefighters or teachers or nurses should get the vaccines first, I mean, we can have our opinions and such, but I guess it really depends on statistics, right? And just statistics as those groups in certain states, right? Who is most exposed through contact tracing and...
Right, and then it's like, well, if you don't have insurance, can you afford it? And it just opens this big discussion. But on a lighter topic, Target is raising minimum wage to $15 per hour beginning July 5th. Tell us more, Kaya.
So over 250,000 employees in stores and distribution centers will receive a higher paycheck. In September 2017, Target promised to raise minimum wage by the end of 2020. In September 2017, Target promised to raise minimum wage by the end of I apologize. I think I just said that. In 2019, Target increased wages to $13 per hour. And by the end of March, out of desperation, Target temporarily raised wages to $15 an hour due to the pandemic. Target also plans to offer a one-time bonus of $200 to hourly employees. And a side note as well, Target will also offer free virtual doctor visits to workers via a Series MD app, and just added new healthcare benefits, which Target has invested over $1 billion in the workforce this year for.
Wow. Well, I've always liked Target, so I'm glad to hear that they're treating their employees good. That's for sure.
Target.
Hey.
Target. Talk to Target nice, okay? It's Target. No, but honestly,
oh my goodness, is that in French?
No, this was actually a joke that started. Well, I don't know if other people say it, but I was with my friends.
A lot of people say it.
Yeah, it's okay. There you go. I was with my friends, and one of them said Target, and I was like, "What is that?" And we were in Target. I was like, "What are you saying?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just saying it like nicer." And I'm like, "Okay." Well, now I say Target. But hey, if people out there need jobs, Target may be a good option for you, raising its minimum wage and offering virtual doctor visits.
And even that $200 bonus, like that helps.
Right. It's a one-time bonus, but it ensures that employees feel like they're being appreciated by their employer.
Yeah.
And that can buy you like a lot of Dunkin' coffees, so I'm not against it.
I mean, I don't know if that's what they're paying for, their Dunkin' coffees, if they're...
Of course not, but that's what I calculate every Dunkin' coffees.
I can't help to think, though, or, just, exploring all possible ideas, if this is, part of, like, desperation. Like, maybe are they that short-staffed, or they don't want to run that risk, so they're trying to, give incentives and just kind of motivate people to stay at Target and continue to put in their hours. But not desperation, not in a bad way, but we're beginning to see this across businesses like Target, ShopRite, other companies, but those companies are leading by example. Let me say that, because where I work, which I would not say where I work, but it's like a big company, I don't feel appreciated. And that's that on that.
And that's usually a problem amongst employees, whether it's small businesses or bigger corporations. Usually in bigger corporations, since just the management is dealing with so many other things, right? You're not like one of the few employees there in the workplace. Also, another person, Morning Buzz host and producer Amanda Marino, talked about her job at ShopRite early on in quarantine and said they raised the wages of everyone who decided to stay and work because many people were leaving due to how dangerous it was being around other people. So, Crystal, you mentioned how your job situation was like. I know that Sabrina, she's also currently employed right now. How's the situation in terms of safety, prevention, and wages? Are you happy with how much you're getting paid? And you don't have to disclose how much you're getting paid on air, by the way.
I mean, if you guys want to know how much I'm getting paid on air.
I want to know. Tell us.
If you really want to know. No,
for the tea.
Up to you.
I get paid $13 an hour, which when I left for the summer, I was getting paid $10 an hour because I obviously took a break for college when I went away. And I came back and actually they reached out to me and they were like, Sabrina, if you come back, we're going to offer you more money, because they really needed me during the COVID pandemic. So I got my job back. But what really is something that makes a lot of me, like the employees, want to continue to work where I'm working is the fact that we get tips where I work. And there have been so many more customers. I work at an ice cream place. There have been so many more customers than in the previous years. So the tips this year have been phenomenal out of the place, which makes the hugest difference for us. Like I come home, sometimes it's like $40 tips in one night. Like that's great. And this is all along for every single employee, which is good.
Right.
But yeah, safety wise, it's definitely good.
Right. How about you, Kaya? Are you currently working somewhere?
I am not currently. Actually, what am I talking about? So I'm not employed. I mean, no, technically I am, because I'm in a paid internship. So that's employed, right?
Yeah.
I had to sign a W-4 form and an I-9. So yeah. Cool. I just started it this week. I'm working at a Chinese nonprofit and I'm their marketing intern. I'm getting paid minimum wage in New York City. Connect the dots. I'm quite excited.
Nice.
Although my hours are very low, I only work 10 hours per week, and I completely understand because it's a very small organization. They valued my work from last summer, but I understand that they can't, budget is tough right now, especially for nonprofits during the pandemic. So I'm completely aware of it. I'm not holding any grudges. If anything, it actually gives me more time to work on other stuff like radio and Montclair News Lab and such. So it's definitely a good balance. But my mom, as I've probably mentioned on the show before, is a recreational therapist in a hospital in Brooklyn. And recent update, all COVID-19 patients have been moved to her floor. So she is, with how anxious my mom already is, she is not happy with it whatsoever. She felt like she had no say in it, right? She had COVID-19 patients on her floor before, but there was a good just balance between non-COVID patients and COVID patients. So she could have just switched between if she wanted a mental break or if she just wanted to check up on others, but now it's just all COVID. And my mom is very stressed. So it's a little sad to see, but it's a reality for a lot of recreational therapists out there, especially since they're also frontline workers.
Right.
They've been in hospitals since day one. So
wait, when you say that the COVID patients got moved up to your mom's floor, do you mean because they had no capacity to put them anywhere else? Is they're seeing an increase? Is that what you're trying to say?
I honestly don't know what the initial reasoning behind that was.
Oh, okay,
my mom never really specified that to me, but I could make some I could just have some opinions about it. Possibly maybe they wanted to separate non-COVID patients from COVID patients because just in terms of safety, right? As there's more non-COVID-19 patients in the hospital now, they want to just kind of separate those that are symptomatic to make sure that so there's a higher chance of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there's no official actual reasoning, but I mean, it's her reality. It's her job. She has to wear, my mom was actually explaining to my family during my birthday barbecue, which is last week. And she was like, yeah, I have a whole procedure. I walk into work with my scrubs and she wears a nurse's outfit, right? Brings nothing to chance. And then she has to wear a protective thing over her scrubs. And then she has to wear a mask and a shield. And then every time she walks into, and gloves obviously, and then every time she walks into a symptomatic person's room, she has to wear an extra gown. And then she takes off that gown when she leaves. And then it's a whole process, right? So, and it's all in one building, all on one floor, going through so many changes and such. So COVID-19, it's still here, guys. People are still dealing it frontline. So
I have to say, thankfully, there has been a dramatic decrease because my mom works for the Atlantic Health System, and their whole system, which is consisted of several hospitals, they were in the hundreds with their COVID-19 patients, but thankfully it has decreased and they are underneath less than 100 patients right now in the entire system, which is several New Jersey hospitals, which is good news, at least here, but that stinks for your mom. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then I feel like another of the questions would be well, would you risk working during a pandemic just for a raise, or for a raise? I don't want to say just for a raise, but for a raise. And honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and answer, and I feel like I wouldn't, and I'm gonna tell you why. So at first, I was very my mom. She was very don't go to work, stay home, blah 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 blah. I don't want you to get sick. I don't want for you to get other people that live here sick, my mom, my brother. And I was just no, I feel I'm young, I can put up a fight, it's fine, I need to go work, not only because I need money, but just because I felt it was the right thing to do. It was not a hard job, but then I just felt they weren't taking the necessary precautions in terms of protective gear, face mask, limiting the amount of people that came inside. And then it was once the whole social distancing thing came up and keeping 6 feet apart, I had this one customer, and she wasn't the only one, but this is the one that like really stands out in my mind, that there was like between the register and where she was, there was like 6 feet. And she was having like a whole fit, like a whole tantrum, like a grown woman having a full-on tantrum. Like, I don't like, ugh, she was just so annoying of like why like she couldn't extend her hand. And I'm like, and honestly, I'm the type of person that I'll try to like to the best of my ability to accommodate you and be nice and friendly and blah 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 blah. But you're not going to come over here with a nasty attitude and be like, oh, I can't reach my hand, you need to reach your hand. Like, I don't care if I'm working for whoever I'm working, but I do not need to do anything. I would just walk out. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, that's not who I am. But like, don't try to act or like try to like belittle me or try to like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just so uncalled for. And in my head, I was just like, girl, like, I'm here putting my well-being at risk to in a way like serve your needs of you need to buy like groceries or like candy or detergent, whatever the case may be. And it's like, you're really gonna give me an attitude, like So then after that incident, I was just like, people are so unappreciative, and I know it's just one of them, but there was like a couple of customers like that, and just people who weren't like taking the necessary precautions. So I was just like, you know what, like, it's not only about thinking about myself, but thinking like about my mom specifically, just because she's on the older side. So I was just like, I can't do this. So I haven't been working for like a month now or 2.
Yeah, and I feel like everyone who's had a job has definitely had like a negative customer experience. It's inevitable, right? You just work there and.
But like in reality, no matter COVID or no COVID, you're gonna have tons of negative customers. Like when you work in customer service, it's definitely never gonna be guaranteed that you're just gonna get happy service.
Yeah, especially in the food industry when everyone's hangry. Like they're rushing. They have to meet their 8 a.m. like morning work shift, and they don't care. They don't care if you have feelings. They don't care if you are backed up with orders. They want their food now, and that's a reality. And I mean, you accept it, you bite your tongue, and you move on. You just remember, I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid. I'm getting a paycheck by the end of this week. I'm just getting, I'm getting
honestly,
paid.
I feel like customers have been, for me, like nicer in this pandemic. They're more generous, and they appreciate us actually being out there and working. So
a lot. I'm not gonna say that's not true, because you're right, Sabrina. A lot of people. I remember when I was still working. Like to be honest, I didn't consider myself like the frontliner, because I was just like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. But then
I feel you.
You're an essential worker though, okay?
I'm an essential worker.
Hey, not me.
Some
Sabrina,
of them would be like,
Crystal was,
So I remember this one customer. She said, "Oh, I don't remember her exact words, but she was basically just saying like, thank you for working today, or just working right now." And I was just like, it really caught me off guard, because no one has said anything nice to me, or people, rude customers, they don't even say thank you to you when they buy. For her to say it, I was just like, huh. I don't know. It just made me feel good, just to be like appreciated. No, just leave it at that.
Yeah,
everyone, make sure you thank the people working out there.
Absolutely,
and
leave there. They're risking. They're risking their like life. They don't know if who has what. Right? They're working. They're trying to serve you, and the least you can do is just. I mean, if you have something mean to say, just bite your tongue and don't say it at all, and take it out on your pillow. Right? There's no need to spread hate. There's no need to spread negativity, right? No thanks. And for those people that are cranky and hangry, well, watch a movie, okay? Like, go on your Netflix and watch a movie and just calm down. And speaking of movies, as my poorly transition you guys just witnessed. So, Kristen Stewart is bound to play Diana Spencer, also known as Lady Diana, Princess of Wales, in an upcoming drama film. And its Deadline reported Wednesday that the piece will be called Spencer. And the movie is going to be about like this crucial Christmas holiday. Like, how like the royal family usually kind of go on their like Christmas estate and have their holiday there. And there was a whole debacle with Meghan Markle not being, there was just like gossip saying that she wasn't invited or her mom wasn't invited, and then her mom ended up coming and such. Like, it's a big deal, and there's a reason why British tabloids are making a big deal out of that whole getaway situation. But it seemed that during that Christmas holiday is how she was planning her divorce with Prince Charles. So we'll get to see an inside look into what went down. Pablo Larraín, if I butchered your last name, I apologize. He's famous for the Natalie Portman's Oscar-nominated Kennedy film, Jackie, and he is set to direct Spencer as well. And he actually went on to say further, quote, "Kristen is one of the great actors around today. To do this well, you need something very important in film, which is mystery. Kristen can be many things, and she can be very mysterious and very fragile, and ultimately very strong as well, which is what we need. The combination of those elements made me think of her." The way she responded to the script and how she was approaching the character, it was very beautiful to see. I think she's going to do something stunning and intriguing at the same time. She is this force of nature, end quote. I don't know, guys. I honestly, in my opinion, I always felt like Kristen Stewart was a bit quirky in her way. Like she was just kind of like a bit odd in terms of just like in the spotlight. She wasn't really that person to be like, "Hi, what's up?" Like it was always kind of like you had to dig for information from her. She was a very closed off person. And in terms of the last films that she was in, it's sad to say, but I can't stop imagining her from like Charlie's Angels or like Twilight, right? I see her as Bella Swan, the odd Bella Swan who like wears a flannel shirt and just like bites her lip, right? I honestly can't imagine her playing Princess Diana. I feel like they were very two different characters, but hey, I guess that's what acting is for, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm happy to see if she's gonna do a good job, because I think the only Kristen Stewart movie I've seen is Twilight, and I just associate her name with like, I mean, there were very mixed reviews about that movie. I liked it, but I definitely see why she got some criticism. But I'm hoping she does good.
You know something funny? I am such a non-movie person, so I'm just going
Not even
to
Twilight?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen Twilight?
No. I'm not a movie person. Not like that anyway. At least growing up, my mom was very strict, so I didn't really get to have a lot of free time, if that makes any sense. So
Okay.
I'm definitely trying to catch up though, especially on Disney movies. Don't worry, guys. I will get it done. But of course, we need to mention this because this is a very important day. Tomorrow is Juneteenth. This Friday will mark 155 years since slavery ended in the United States. The day has been coined Juneteenth, deriving its name from its date, June 19th. According to June19th.com, the day celebrates African American freedom and achievement while encouraging continuous self-development and respect for all cultures, end quote. The National Juneteenth Observance Foundation notes that 45 states recognize the day as a state holiday. However, it is not recognized as a national holiday. As the fight for racial equality has reached a boiling point, as we've seen throughout the past weeks, many companies and brands are re-examining how they observe the day. Governor Cuomo issued an executive order recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday for New York State employees. And not only that, but it will advance legislation to make Juneteenth an official holiday next year. Cuomo stated, quote, "Friday is Juneteenth, a day to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. And it's a day that is especially relevant in this moment in history," end quote. Governor Cuomo said, "Although slavery ended over 150 years ago, there has still been rampant systematic discrimination and injustice in this state and in this nation. And we have been working to enact real reforms to address these inequalities. I'm going to issue an executive order recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday for state employees, and I'll propose legislation next year to make it an official state holiday, so New Yorkers can use this day to reflect on all the changes we will still need to make to create a more fair, just, and equal society." Governor Cuomo is not alone though. Beginning this year, Adobe, MasterCard, Lyft, Postmates, Quicken Loans, Square, Uber, and retailers like Best Buy, Target, and JCPenney, and media companies including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and Vox Media have also made Juneteenth a company holiday. We'll all be recognizing June 19th as a company holiday for all U.S. employees. This is quite interesting, but I will say this, and I'm sorry if you guys may not agree, but I feel that a lot of these companies are doing it for the pressure that's going on right now. And I feel like you guys should have been, celebrating this as a state, and it should be a national holiday.
I agree. I understand. You've seen a lot of celebrities being accused of going to protests and taking off their masks just to be in the spotlight and to show that they're supporting the movement, yet they're not donating, they're not saying much. It seems artificial. I feel like people are taking advantage of this not in the most selfish intentions, and it's just a reality. It is what it is, but it's important to separate those people from people that are actually trying to make real change. And also another company that we didn't mention is TikTok. So Bloomberg also reports that June 19th will be a paid holiday for TikTok employees. From CEO Kevin Mayer, a representative for Spotify, also confirmed to Bloomberg that the company will be recognizing it as a paid holiday. Some find the fact that companies are scrambling to do so somewhat ironic, since Juneteenth, a mashup of the month's name and date, the 19th, can come to be because of a delay in alerting all enslaved people that they were freed by the Emancipation Proclamation issued in September of 1862 and effective January 1st, 1863. It wasn't until June 19th, 1865, over 2 years after the proclamation took effect, with the arrival of Major General Gordon Granger in Texas, the residents there learned that President Abraham Lincoln had declared that, quote, that all persons held as slaves, end quote, have been freed, and that slave owners needed to comply. Uber will make Juneteenth a paid company holiday for employees this year. CEO Dara announced Wednesday in a Twitter post, quote, "We encourage employees to spend it in a way that allows them to stand up against racism, whether that's by learning, participating in a community action, or reflecting on how to make change," end quote. Spotify is making the date a paid employee holiday and will exclusively feature Black artists in its new Music Friday playlist. Netflix has curated a special Black Lives Matter collection, and Hulu has moved new releases from Friday out of respect. Music site Bandcamp will also donate 100% of its shares of sales on Friday to NAACP. So a question that a lot of us must be asking is, are corporate Juneteenth recognitions genuine? As we've mentioned before, we've had suspicions about this, and other people agree as well. Some might argue that when you look at the demographics of crowds protesting the recent string of incidents involving police brutality, companies could be making statements and donations of millions of dollars to simply appease consumers. Mm-hmm. The cynicism is rooted in the lack of corporate diversity in corporate boardrooms and across many industries, despite the spotlight on diversity in recent years. According to a report from the Harvard Law School Forum on Corporate Governance, minorities held 19.5% board seats in 2018 among Fortune 100 companies. The tech industry especially has been criticized for a lack of inclusive hiring. Minorities at Google and other major tech companies are also sharply underrepresented in non-technical jobs such as sales and administration, with African Americans faring noticeably worse than Hispanics. A US Today analysis in 2014 revealed. According to the most recent US government data released in 2016, African Americans make up 3% of employees in the top 75 tech firms in Silicon Valley, including Apple, while they hold 24% of the jobs in non-tech firms.
Yeah, and you know something that's not funny in terms of like, I always say this word and I don't mean it to be like comical funny, but it's like so interesting to me that like I never really learned about Juneteenth in school, and it's not taught in school. I didn't hear about it until I took like a specific course in college that, you know, had to do with like women's rights, and then it included Juneteenth, and we touched upon Juneteenth. In school, students are taught about Independence Day and Emancipation Proclamation, but not everyone learns about Juneteenth in the classroom.
Was this high school or was this college?
No, college. You know, many learned about Juneteenth by watching TV shows like Blackish, says the marketing communications expert Courtney Netwell, who is also the author of Future Proof, the blueprint for building a brand Gen Z and millennials love. The ABC series devoted its 2017 season premiere on the holiday. Quote, a lot of people were like, I didn't even know about that until I watched the episode, end quote, she said. It's not taught in schools. The focus on Juneteenth is a big awakening for a lot of people, and it's inclusive too, she said. It's not just for Black people, it's really the celebration of Black history, which is also American history. However you choose to observe Juneteenth, we hope you take the time to reflect and educate yourself and support each other. That's really important. And I know a lot of communities are having events. So if you can, it's just like to celebrate Juneteenth. So I'm personally going to go. So I guess I encourage everyone to participate and show solidarity. This is important.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to definitely educate myself on the holiday more, because as Crystal mentioned, I didn't learn about this in school, and it's definitely a conversation that needs to be held with the educational departments nationwide. So it's important that we recognize the holiday tomorrow, and also to have a wonderful weekend as well. Take care of yourselves. I'm sure for some of you it was a rough week, whether you guys were working or if you guys are preparing to look for jobs and such. And we would like to remind you to tune in to tomorrow's Morning Buzz. It's the best of the week. And if you guys want to see some of our visuals, you can head over to Facebook Live at WMSC 90.3 FM. And also you can head over to our YouTube at WMSC Radio 93. And this is the Morning Buzz here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I've been Kaya with my co-hosts, and we'll see you next week. Bye.